Grandparents makes this case even more disturbing. Jessica was sentenced to 3 years in prison, with a possibility of parole after 18 months. She was also ordered to undergo psychological evaluation and treatment, and you have no. My parents were not charged criminally, but the CPS investigation resulted in safety plans being put in place. They would be required to complete parenting classes and undergo psychological counseling before they could have any unsupervised contact with Ethan. The case would remain open and be reviewed annually. But honestly, I didn't want them to have visitation rights. The people who could watch their grandchild being thrown against a wall and comfort the person who threw him were not people I wanted in my son's life. The weeks following Ethan's release from the NICU were a blur of medical appointments, legal consultations, and sleepless nights. Every time I looked at my son, I felt a mixture of overwhelming love and residual terror. The doctors had assured us that he was completely fine, but I found myself checking on him constantly, watching for signs that some might be wrong. Tom took extended leave from work to help me process everything and to attend the various meetings we had with lawyers and social workers. He was incredible during this time, knowing all the practical details while I focused on bonding with Ethan and trying to heal emotionally. See the strain on him too. He would sometimes stare off into space with a look of disbelief, as if he couldn't quite accept that what had happened was real. The hardest part wasn't even dealing with the legal system or the medical follow-ups. It was a complete silence from my family. After Jessica's arrest, my parents had tried calling me several times, but when I wouldn't answer, they stopped trying. No apology, no acknowledgement of what they had said in that hospital room, no expression of concern for Ethan's well-being. It was as if they had written us off completely the moment they realized there would be consequences for their actions. I kept thinking about all the times throughout my life when they had chosen Jessica over me, but this felt different. This wasn't about favoritism or attention, this was about the safety of their grandchild. The fact that they could prioritize Jessica's emotional state over Ethan's physical well being told me something about their character that I couldn't ignore or rationalize away. About a month after the incident, my childhood friend Amanda reached out to me. She had heard through mutual acquaintances what had happened, and she was horrified. Amanda had grown up seeing how my parents treated me versus Jessica, and she said she wasn't entirely surprised by their reaction, which somehow made it worse. I remember when we were in high school, she told me during one of our long phone conversations, and Jessica crashed your car after taking it without permission. Your parents were more concerned about how embarrassed she was than about the fact that she could have killed someone. They made you pay for the repairs with your job money. I had forgotten about that incident, but Amanda was right. There had been a pattern throughout our lives of Jessica's poor choices being minimized while I was expected to be understanding and accommodating. But somehow I had convinced myself that becoming grandparents might change them, might awaken some protective instinct that would put a child's needs first. The court proceedings were emotionally exhausting. I had to relive that horrible day multiple times, first for the police report, then for the prosecutor's office, then during depositions, and finally during the trial itself. Each time I told the story, I felt that same surge of panic and rage, remembering how helpless I had felt watching my son fly through the air. Jessica's defense team tried several different strategies. First, they claimed it was an accident, that she had slipped while holding Ethan. But the hospital security footage made that impossible to argue. Then they tried the mental health defense, bringing in expert witnesses to talk about the psychological effects of infertility and how it could lead to temporary reality. I actually felt some sympathy for this argument. I knew Jessica had been struggling with infertility, and I could imagine how painful it must have been to watch me get pregnant after she'd been trying for years. But sympathy for her pain didn't excuse what she had done to an innocent, and it certainly didn't excuse my parents' reaction. The prosecution was thorough and professional. District Attorney Margaret Walsh assigned her best prosecutor, James Chen, to the case, and he the jury through not just what Jessica had done, but the context of what happened afterward. He showed them the security footage, played audio recordings of the 911 calls, and brought in expert witnesses to explain how serious Ethan's injuries could have been. But it was Dr. Martinez's testimony that really seemed to impact the jury. He had been working in obstetrics for over 20 years. My girlfriend Nora's childhood friend Miles and I got stuck with this weird transfer system. He ate went straight to my stomach. Miles started streaming himself eating for 12 hours straight and made bank. Meanwhile, I landed in the hospital with pancreatitis. When I told Nora, she looked at me like I was crazy. That's impossible. If food could transfer like that, nobody would starve. You're just jealous Miles is making money. After that, every time Miles streamed, I'd end up in the hospital. Each time, the pancreatitis was bad enough to kill me. The doctors ran tests but couldn't figure it out. They wanted to put me in psych. Then Miles competed with another streamer and ate 10 pounds of pasta in one sitting. I died from internal bleeding. When I opened my eyes, I was back at the start, when Miles first began streaming. This time, I ordered 20 takeout meals ahead of him. This time, I'm eating first. I said that on my phone. Miles had just finished a whole chicken. My stomach felt full even though I hadn't eaten all day that I saw I was right. Even after coming back, nothing changed. Everything Miles ate still went to my stomach. While I panicked, Miles brought out a huge bowl of spaghetti with a big Coke. That chicken was just the appetizer, he told his viewers. Now for the main course. Someone off screen kept saying, "Oh my god, Miles, you're amazing. I couldn't eat all that in 3 days." I saw Miles about to dig into that giant bowl and grab my keys. I had to stop him or I'd die again. That I ordered another 20 meals on my way over. This time, I'd figure out what he was up to. I pulled up at Nora's place just as the food arrived. I grabbed it and ran upstairs. Nora opened the door, looking annoyed. "What are you doing here? Spying on me? Miles is streaming. Don't mess this up. Leave now. Miles is doing great. If you scare off the viewers, I'll never forgive you." In my past life, Miles moved in with Nora right after graduation. Said he'd move out once he got a job. That I thought it was weird, but Nora said, "We've known each other ever. If something was gonna happen, why would I be with you?" I followed his account to support him when he started streaming. That's when the weird stuff began. Every time he went live, my stomach felt ready to explode and I ended up in the hospital with pancreatitis. That's from eating too much. Bad cases can kill you instantly. Nora didn't believe me. Said I was jealous. Since she was helping run his account, she kept me away so I wouldn't mess with their money that I suffered at home, getting hauled off in ambulances. The doctors kept telling me to stop risking my life for food. Then came the pasta competition. Miles had to eat 10 pounds of pasta against another streamer. Whoever finished first won that I died from a box wasn't enough. I pulled out a mango smoothie and a huge mango cake. Miles tried to win back viewers. "Nolan, I'm just starting out. If you want to stream, use your own account. Why take over mine? Let me eat. We can both eat and see who eats more." He reached for the spaghetti. I grabbed it first and showed the camera. "This has too much chili. It'll hurt your stomach. And you want ice cold Coke with it." That's how stomach problems start. Have some clam chowder instead. Much healthier. I found clam chowder in the takeout and handed it over. The audience loved how thoughtful I was. More gifts came in. They told Miles to rest and watch me eat. Miles wanted Nora's help, which watching the gift revenue
grinning. As long as money came in, she didn't care who streamed, especially since I earned more that I forced down the smoothie and cake through the discomfort. Miles still had no reaction that I in the past. One bite of mango would give him full body hives and swelling. Damn, the transfer only worked one way. What Miles ate went to me, but not vice versa. That and my stomach was completely full. I waved at the camera. It's late. Everyone should sleep. Staying up is bad for you. Hope to see you again. I turned off the stream that I in my car. I threw up everything into a plastic bag in a tea home. I couldn't sleep. If I didn't figure this out in a day, I'd be in constant danger. Suddenly, intense stomach discomfort hit. I dry heaved, but nothing came up that I felt like being forced to eat food I hated as a kid. I got ice cream from the fridge to ease the nausea. The ice cream didn't help. Then it hit me. I checked my phone. Miles was streaming again. I'm eating bacon for you guys. He told the camera. Hope you'll send gifts. He ate the bacon with obvious enjoyment. Even through the screen, I felt sick that I typed angrily. Stop eating. You're making me sick. Smugly. Who do you think you are? Show me. Screaming and put 30 burgers on the table. You say everything Miles eats goes on them. Let the viewers see if it's true. The viewers flooded chat with questions. Nora explained. My boyfriend lost. Taken him out of town. Ordering everything on the menu. Miles texted me. Nora took me out of town. Don't want to waste it, so I'm finishing everything. I was furious, wanted to fly there and kill him. Then I noticed the medication the doctor prescribed that I in that instant. I understood everything that I was so thrilled I jumped up. Over the next few days, Miles streamed from various restaurants, causing a stir online. His appetite was incredible, never purged. Kept his figure. Other streamers challenged him. Miles accepted and scheduled a competition with a streamer who had millions of followers that I in my past life. I died after this competition, but this time, I lay in my hospital, recovering peacefully, waiting for discharge. Competition day came. Miles' stream drew over 10,000 viewers. 10 bowls of pasta sat in front of him. As he started eating, his face twisted in pain. He put down his fork. His opponent was already eating. Nora urged, Miles, hurry. He started already. Miles nodded through discomfort, preparing to eat. Then he grabbed his stomach and doubled over. Before Nora could ask what was wrong, Miles let out an incredibly loud fart in front of 10,000 viewers that a foul smell filled the air. Miles collapsed. Watching this, I couldn't stop grinning. Nora called me. What did you do? I smiled. Take a guess. My girlfriend Nora's childhood friend Miles.
I just don't. I'm so put up right now. And you are not in me. Yeah, I've been staring at pictures of your mom. She bad.
That's fair. Would you want to have a three-way?
With you and her?
Yeah.
Yes. I thought this day would never come. I have been watching her mom on the hub. There is something on the bed. I'm in cuffs. I can't take it.
Let's see. Where I am.
I think somebody took something off of me and left it there for me.
It's a picture. Let me see. Let me show you.
You're gonna.
Oh. I don't.
Give it to me.
I'll put it on you. I'll put it on you when you're out of your bed.
Okay, you got that from Riv.
Okay.
When you're expecting me, Jim.
What happened when your neighbor called 911, but the cops just laughed? So I'm standing on my front lawn holding a turkey baster while 15 SWAT officers aim assault rifles at my face. My neighbor Hector is behind a squad car screaming that I'm running a criminal enterprise that needs to be neutralized immediately. The walking looking at me through his tactical gear, and Hector and he tried to process how someone in grease-stained apron became a high-priority target. Behind them, 30 regular cops have the whole street blocked off like we're filming the next Die Hard movie. I can smell my turkey getting dry through the open door and hear Grandma inside yelling at the lions fumbling again. It's a SWAT team versus my Thanksgiving dinner. This insanity started because I decided to host Thanksgiving for the first time. My mom died last spring and nobody wanted to deal with the holidays, so I stepped up. I invited my 3 brothers and their families, Dad, Grandma, my aunt from Detroit, and my cousin Dean, who just got out of the Marines. Dean brought 3 Marine buddies who had nowhere else to go for the holiday. 17 people came in total. Everyone showed up around noon, parking all over our narrow street. Kids were throwing a football in the backyard. Adults were arguing about whether the Cowboys would choke again, and Grandma was telling everyone they were too skinny. It was loud, sure, but it was Thanksgiving loud, not Enterprise loud. We were just a big Filipino-American family trying to keep traditions alive after a rough year. The problem was my neighbor. He's the same guy who measures his grass with a ruler and once called the cops on a Girl Scout for aggressive cookie selling tactics. When he saw Dean and his Marine buddies get out of a truck, 4 built guys with military haircuts carrying aluminum pans of food, something in his brain just snapped. He watched from his window as more cars arrived, heard kids screaming in the backyard, saw my aunt hauling in her massive cooler, and instead of walking over like a normal human to ask what was happening, he called 911. Hector told dispatch I had at least 100 weapons in my house, said gang members were assembling for something big. He even reported aggressive shouting and suspicious packages being stockpiled, which were literally just hands of lumpia and a cooler full of sodas. By the time Hector finished his fantasy novel to the 911 operator. He painted my house as some kind of cartel compound preparing for war. The dispatcher, not taking any chances with a potential criminal scenario, sent everyone. SWAT rolled up like they were raiding El Chapo while we were inside debating whether marshmallows belong on sweet potatoes. When they arrived, Hector ran out, frantically pointing at my house. That's the house! They're armed and dangerous. You need to strike now before the gang members escape, he screamed at the SWAT commander. I saw him threatening people with a weapon through the window. He was waving it around like a maniac. What he'd actually seen was me carving the turkey. But this man was committed to his delusion, standing there in his pressed khakis, acting like he'd just uncovered a terrorist cell instead of a family dinner. After the SWAT commander was done telling me to get on the ground and finally asked for an explanation, I pulled out my phone and showed him the photos I'd been taking all day. There was Dad carving turkey in the same apron I was wearing. My 7-year-old niece was making hand turkeys at the kids' table with cartoon tablecloths. Dean and his Marine were buddies in the matching Grateful and Blessed t-shirts my aunt forced on everyone. Playing Jenga with my nephew. The suspicious packages Hector reported. A photo of Grandma carrying her famous ube pie. The aggressive shouting. A video of everyone screaming at a touchdown. I showed him my grocery receipt for $400 worth of Thanksgiving food. 3 days of shopping. The commander lowered his rifle, pulled off his helmet, and just stared at Hector. Sir, he said to me, are those Marines in there? I nodded. They served 3 tours in Afghanistan. They're here because they don't have family nearby. The commander's face went from confusion to something between embarrassment and anger. The entire SWAT team just started laughing. One officer actually asked, is that turkey I smell? My grandma, who hobbled outside despite everyone telling her to stay put, shouted, you boys hungry? I need too. The commander walked over to Hector, who was still ranting about gang activity, and said in the calmest voice I've ever heard, sir, you called in a federal response for a Thanksgiving dinner. You've wasted thousands in taxpayer dollars and risked innocent lives because you don't like cars parked on your street. Then he arrested Hector for false reporting and abuse of emergency services and told me, happy Thanksgiving, sir. Sorry about your lawn.
My cousin walked up to me at the family BBQ and asked, why are you wearing white after Labor Day? I laughed. Since when do you care about fashion rules? My cousin Paul didn't laugh back. His face went pale and he kept glancing around like he was looking for backup. Before I could ask what his problem was, Aunt Paige practically sprinted across the yard and wrapped me, mumbled something about family stuff being complicated right now. She brought me coffee without me asking, which was nice of her. Walked by and did a double take when she saw me. She motioned for me to follow her to her office and closed the door behind us. She said Mom had called the office this morning asking them to check if I was having some kind of breakdown. My face burned with embarrassment as she explained that Mom sounded really worried and kept saying I wasn't thinking clearly. My boss sat down and asked if I wanted to talk about what was going on. I told her the basic version without all the weird parts about my family thinking white clothes caused drowning. I just said they had some trauma around water accidents and they overreacted when I wore something that reminded them of it. She nodded and said, grief makes people do strange things sometimes. She suggested I take the rest of the day to sort things out and mentioned the company had an employee assistance program if I needed to talk to someone professional. I accepted both.
The drive to their house was fun, filled with light chatter. I learned that my nieces and Lisa went to the same school, and Jean and Lisa were in the same grade. Missy, the younger niece, was a year behind Jeannie. I caught up on what had been happening with my sister and her family in the past year. We all laughed when Missy asked if I had brought the ball I won. After explaining, she realized I had won the lottery and that there wasn't a real ball. Soon, we arrived at their house, which was a large 2-story ranch. George had a good job at an IT company, and my sister Mel ran a daycare center. Their house sat on 5 acres of beautiful Texas hill country. Even though George's commute was long, they loved the area for raising their daughters. George helped me with my bags as the girls led the way to the guest room. It was cozy with a Western theme and had a bathroom attached. The dogs jumped on the bed right away, making my nieces laugh. After settling in and taking a quick shower, I went downstairs to join the family in the den. I sat in a recliner and soon had 2 little girls bouncing on my lap. Girls, don't hurt your uncle on his first night here, Mel said, smiling. Let them be, sis. I didn't realize how much I missed you guys. After the last 4 months, I forgot what it feels like to be with family. I hugged the girls tightly, making them squeal with joy. I saw tears in my sister's eyes. After 20 minutes of tickling and giggling, my sister stood up and said, bedtime, girls. Come on. Your uncle will be here in the morning, too. With a bit of groaning and eye-rolling, the girls hopped off my lap, kissed me on the cheek, and ran to their bedrooms laughing as their mom chased them. George and I sat back to watch the news. Just as the story of my big win started, my sister came back in. We watched in silence. After the story ended, Mel turned off the TV. So, little brother, now that you're a millionaire, what are your plans? I sat quietly for a couple of minutes thinking, honestly, sis, I don't know. I need some time to figure things out. This has been both a nightmare and a dream come true. If you guys can put up with me for a few days, maybe I can get a better idea of what I want to do. Now my sister's tears were flowing freely. She sat on my lap, wrapping her arms around me like Mom used to do. George walked over, placing a hand on my shoulder. Mike, this is your home now, he said. You are welcome here for as long as you want. Mel, honey, I have to be early tomorrow. Good night, Mike. See you tomorrow. With glistening eyes, I looked at George. Thanks, George. Your words mean more to me than you know. Mel got up from my lap and stood next to her husband. Bed sounds good. I'll be with you in a few minutes. George kissed her quickly and left. I'm sure you're ready for bed too, little brother. I know it's been a long day for you. Trying not to yawn, I stood up in the chair. Yeah, sis. You're right. It's been a long day. Bed does sound great. But first, I want to say thanks to you and George for being here for me. Don't be silly. Of course, we're here for you. Your family, and we love you. You can stay with us as long as you want. Always remember, brother, if I have a home, you have one too. Thanks again, Mel. Oh, one more thing. Now that I know my win is on TV, I'm worried, Jenny. At the mention of my ex-wife's name, my sister looked angry. Don't worry, Mike. If she calls, I'll handle it. With that, we both headed to bed. I felt more at peace than I had in the last 4 months. It was good to be around loving family. The next few weeks flew by. I spent my days relaxing by the pool and using their home gym. My sister is a great cook, so the gym was needed to avoid gaining weight. On weekends, George and I went fishing, a hobby I loved but rarely had time for because of my old job. One morning as I came downstairs, I heard my sister on the phone. Listen to me, you liar. I don't know where my brother is. And if I did, I wouldn't tell you. He called saying he's on a long cruise and will be gone for a year. Don't call here again. I was shocked. My sweet sister never spoke harshly, but she protected those she loved. Hearing my gasp, she turned around, her cheeks red. You were right, Mike. She must have heard the news and is trying to find you. I hope she believes my lie about the world cruise and stops searching for you here. Sorry for my language. I laughed and hugged her. I think you handled it perfectly. You said exactly what I would have. As days went by, I grew to love the hill country and decided I wanted to stay close to my family. I started looking for a place to buy, but didn't tell anyone yet. One morning, while George and Mel were at work and the kids were at school, I was having coffee in a local cafe when I overheard 2 men talking. One said he was selling some land he owned. The other said it would be long to sell because it had lakefront access. Interested, I approached them. Hello, I'm Mike. I heard you talking about some land for sale. Can you tell me more about it? Sure, young man, he said. It's close by, 50 acres with... He unlocked it and then walked back to my car window. Why don't you park here and ride with me? I'll show you around. Sounds good, I said, turning off the engine. I got out and climbed into his truck. First, we'll go to a hilltop near the center. You can see most of the land from there. As we drove, he asked what brought me here. I told him about my sister living nearby and how much I liked the area. I did the lottery. When we reached the hilltop, we got out. The view was amazing. He pointed out the property lines and then suggested we go down to the lake. We stopped at a small cove surrounded by rocks with a little inlet from the lake. The water is deep here. It would be a nice spot for a boat dock, Jim said. I agreed, imagining a dock there. On the way back, Jim stopped at a few more interesting spots. Then he dropped me on the gate. He handed me a business card writing something on the back. That's a general price I'm asking. My phone number is on the other side. If you're interested after thinking it over, give me a call. I thanked him and assured him I would contact him after talking it over with my sister and her family. As I drove back to my sister's house, I felt excited about the idea of buying the property. The thought of the cove and a boat dock made it even more appealing. After that, fishing would be much easier. That evening, I stayed quiet through dinner. Right before we finished, I said, "Hey, everyone. After we clean up, can we talk?" Mel gave me a curious look. Sure, Mike. We can go to the den. Girls, help me clear the dishes. George and I went to the den. He handed me a beer, and we chatted about the weather until my sister and niece joined us. My sister sat next to her husband and asked, "Is something wrong?" "No, everything's fine," I said. "I've really enjoyed my time here. I love this place. I'm thinking about moving here. What do you guys think?" My nieces clapped and shouted, "Yes, yes," Mel smiled. "That would be great, Mike." "I was hoping you'd stay. Have you found a place you like?" George asked. "Yes, I have." I told them about meeting Jim and touring his property. George's eyes lit up when I mentioned the cove perfect for a boat dock. I told him he could dock his boat there too. George had a nice fishing boat at a costly marina. This would be much closer. My sister shook her head and smiled. Boys and their toys. But she also liked going out on the lake with George. After the girls went to bed, I asked if they knew someone who could tell me if Jim's was fair. I didn't know the property values here. Mel said she was friends with a real estate agent who helped them buy their house, said she could help. That night, I went to bed thinking about what kind of house I would build. The next evening, Mel told me she talked to her friend, the agent. She suggested we all tour the property on Saturday, if I could arrange it with Jim. I said I would call him. After dinner, I called Jim. Jim, it's Mike Johnson. I'm interested in the property, but want my family to see it too. Can we tour it on Saturday? Mike, my wife and I will be out of town Saturday, but if you meet me at the cafe in the morning, I'll give you the key to the gate. You can show them around. How does that sound? Sounds great, Jim. I'll see you in the morning. I told Mel about the plan, and we decided to visit the property on Saturday. On the day of the tour, Mel's friend, Renee, joined us. We loaded into the SUV and drove to the property. We first stopped at the hilltop where we got out to enjoy the view. It was just as stunning as before. Everyone was impressed. Then we headed down to the cove. George and I talked about a boat dock while my nieces played along the shoreline. My sister packed a picnic, and we agreed the cove was a great spot to eat. While setting up lunch, I discussed the price with Renee. She said it was a bit high but fair because of the lakefront. With that, I made up my mind. I would call Jim on Monday to start the process. 2 weeks later, I owned 50 acres of beautiful Texas hills. I chose the hilltop with a great view to build my house. Renee helped me find a custom builder. I met 4 builders and picked one. I told him my plan for the house. 2 stories, 3 bedrooms, kitchen, dining room, living room, and a den game room downstairs. Upstairs would have the master bedroom with an office sitting room and a home gym. Outside, I wanted an infinity pool and a hot tub overlooking the hillside. The builder took my ideas. A few weeks later, he house, so I made sure the insulation was top quality and chose triple pane windows. I arranged for a wind turbine on a nearby hill and solar panels on the roof. For drinking water, I would collect rainwater, and for the garden, a pump at the lake. It cost a lot up front, but would save money in the long run. Plus, it felt good to help the planet. For the next 10 months, I visited the site daily to watch the progress. I also learned about local plants because I wanted to design and manage the landscaping myself. The first thing finished was the floating boat dock, and George happily moved his boat there from the marina. Finally, the house was finished. After a final inspection that met my approval, all that was left was to complete the landscaping. I hired a local company and gave them plans. A week later, the landscaping was done. My sister helped me pick out furniture, and we got it all delivered and set up. She has great taste, and since we grew up together, she knew it would make me feel at home. I was ready to move into my new house. It was expensive and took a lot of my first year's lottery winnings, but it was worth it. Almost a year had passed since I cashed in the winning ticket, and I was about to get the second year's payment. I kept my sister and her family away for the last month so I could surprise them with the finished house. The day came to move in, so I loaded my things into the pickup I bought. My sister and her family followed me. When we arrived, the looks on their faces said it all. They were amazed. The house with its wood siding and native stone fit perfectly with the landscape. We toured the house, and the girls went, "Oh," and "ah." I showed them where their rooms were if they ever wanted to stay over. We then went out to the back deck, which looked at the pool and hot tub. George loved the new barbecue I had set up. I really wanted my family to be there on my first night, so I asked them to stay. We lived only 2 miles away, but this was special to me. Mel took the girls to the supermarket to stock my kitchen and get some nice steaks for the barbecue, which everyone liked. While they were gone, George and I went down to the boat dock to check his boat. Then we sat on the deck, drinking some beers and watching my dogs explore their new yard. I had only landscaped about an acre around the house and put up a fence to keep the dogs close and safe. The pool and hot tub were also fenced in to prevent accidents. The girls came back with groceries, and we spent an hour bringing them inside and putting them away. Mel did a great job making sure I had everything I needed, including pots, pans, silverware, and plates. For lunch, Mel and the girls made us all sandwiches and chips, which we ate on the deck. As the day got warm, I wanted to swim. I told them to put on their suits and watch them happily run off to change. George, Mel, and I
gosh.
On the deck sipping margaritas and keeping an eye on them. Later in the afternoon, Mel and I went to the kitchen. She made a salad and side dishes while I got the meat ready for the barbecue. About 45 minutes later, we all sat down to eat. The steaks were delicious, even if I say so myself. After dinner, we cleaned up the kitchen and then went to the game room to watch my nieces play video games on my new big TV. Mike, you did a wonderful job designing your home. You must be very proud, George said. I am. But I couldn't have done it without your help and support over the last year, and all the credit for the decorations goes to my sister for her great taste. I saw my sister blush. I will never be able to repay you for all the kindness you have shown me, I said. Oh, baby brother, my sister said with tears in her eyes. We did it out of love. It was a gift, not a debt. I thank you both from the bottom of my heart. How about we put the girls to bed and relax in the hot tub? We spent an hour enjoying the warm water under the stars before agreeing it had been a long day and we should go to bed. As I climbed the stairs to my room, I peeked in on my nieces. They were sound asleep, each with a dog tucked under their arms. I slept hard that night and woke up to the smell of breakfast. I put on my robe and went to the kitchen where my sister was cooking a big meal. There were eggs, ham, sausage, hash browns, toast, and juice. It was a breakfast fit for a king, which is how I felt in my new home. After breakfast, my sister and her family went back home. The house felt very quiet after they left. I realized living alone would take some getting used to. My dogs came over and sat by my feet. Well, I said, how about we go exploring? We spent the day wandering around my new property. A couple of weeks later, the second year's lottery winnings were deposited in my account. It was time to decide what to do with my time and money. The last year had been busy with building the house, but now I had time on my hands. I still planned to visit my sister and go to my niece's soccer games, but I wanted a purpose. I thought about donating some of my, so I started researching deserving causes.
Well, let's see you guys later. Bye.